performance.
Hello.
I agree. You alright?
Yeah.
Classic Tash.
Well,
what's
ladies,
going on, ladies?
tell us.
We've been talking about the Halloween episode first and
Have we?
foremost. So,
Wonderful.
what can you kind of tease for the viewers about that?
Halloween episode, October 20th. Everyone should tune in.
Camille is throwing her annual big Halloween bash because she loves to host a crowd who are all there in her honor. And in finding actually, I've been describing this wrong. Our murder of the moment leads us to the perfect venue for said party.
Yes.
And hijinks and spooky, sexy hilarity ensue. It's scary. It's scary.
Sexy hilarity? Can you tell us more about the sexy hilarity?
I'm dressed as Vampire Barbarella.
And I'm basically a sexy rock star version of Jedi. We wanted
He's a sexy rock star, but he's like wearing strips of burlap.
Well, no, that's the whole Jedi thing, right? Because originally they wanted to do Yoda, and we couldn't get the rights. So they're like, oh shit, let's put something together.
Did you input in what you were going to be?
Yeah.
I leaned heavily into that.
She knew immediately. They were like, Halloween episode, and she's like, right here.
I was like, Barbarella. I have an agenda. I mean, we can't actually call it Barbarella, but our amazing wardrobe designer found this vintage, like, gold bodysuit and like chains, and it's great.
Are there any spikes
very
on it?
like Princess Leia kind of during the.
Yeah, a little Princess Leia.
The colors,
like,
wasn't like that.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I did try on a slave Leia costume, and I was like, no way am I going to be this naked on camera. What if I don't feel so fresh that day? Like, this isn't happening. So I was like, let's go with like a leotard and tights that I can be just sort of tucked into and feel comfortable.
There could be a Barbarella off with Shay Mitchell. She was Barbarella on a Pretty Little Liars Halloween episode a couple years ago.
Oh, that's funny. Look at that.
Guys, battery show.
I like it.
It's alright.
Crossover
I'll
episode.
lose that fight. I'll cede that one.
When people are dressed as Barbarella, we all win.
Right?
There's no losers
I
here.
tend to agree. What else? What else can we tell
What can
you?
you guys tell us about season 2? And what's to come?
Bigger, badder, sexier, slicker.
Darker,
Darker, more mature,
darker.
both I think as a show and the characters as a whole. We're going to pick up right where we left off. So I think the events at the end of season 1 definitely take a heavy toll on everybody in terms of what are we doing in the program, right? We go through this I don't want to say mundane, but a day-to-day of dealing with these dead patients, it loses its luster. We forget that we're dealing with human lives, but then finally it's happening, the camera kind of hits home, and we're like, wait a second, we are actually dealing with human life, and we're making a difference in these people's lives. So kind of reflecting back on, we have Cameron in the corp, you said, I think it causes Linus definitely to kind of look at himself and say, maybe it's time to grow up and figure out what is he doing with his life, why is he living at home with his parents still. He's coming to work and doing important work, and definitely affects the relationship that he has.
Yeah, will that kind of take a negative toll maybe on your guys' relationship after having been through so much and kind of in this darker place?
I don't think it takes a negative toll. I think it just causes us both to reevaluate and recalibrate. Like Touch was saying, Linus is inspired to do some growing up and reorder his life. And Camille, this is the single most dire situation she's ever been in. I don't think anyone here has actually had to pilot Stitch through their dead friend's brain with racing against the clock. And so I think in the aftermath of that, she feels wholly unprepared to be dealing with this stuff. So she pulls away emotionally and seeks fight training from Fisher. So I'm hoping for Camille to potentially become the muscle of the foursome, since we don't really have that yet.
Hopefully she becomes more.
I mean, truly.
Linus needs protection.
Linus needs protection. That is definitely going to happen. Like, you cornered and Camille just swooping in and throwing kicks and elbows.
But it'll be like, a little role change.
Fans would watch that. Fans would be all for that.
Yeah, I think so.
I would watch that show.
Why not?
So what are you most excited for about season 2? Like you can just let your fans kind of know what they should be.
Aside from the Rays, aside from the paper, the fight training. I mean, I'm really excited to break off from the Scooby gang, punch a heavy bag, figure out what Camille's real function is in this space.
I think Linus, I think just like finding out who he is as a person, right? We've seen this kind of nerdy, geeky side, innocent, wears his heart on his sleeve. So it'll be really, I think, interesting to explore this more complex version of him. It's just not always comic relief or just like the geeky nerd who says inappropriate things. I think figuring out who he is as a person and seeing where that takes him.
But we will still get the comic relief.
Yeah, no, you'll absolutely. That part of him will always be there, but I think he'll be more appropriate. You know, he'll be more mature about it. So maybe instead of people laughing at him, people laugh.
For people who may not have found the Stitchers yet, is the Halloween episode a good one to jump in on?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's lives within the kind of the world of our, our universe. The relationships are developed. Yeah, it stands alone. So all the relationships are there, all the dynamics are there, the jokes, the laughs, kind of.
It's a great appetizer to the entree of season 4.
Beautiful, beautifully said. Food reference. I'm good with it.
If there's a tagline for season 2 that would kind of wrap it all into one big line, what would you say it would be?
2.0.
Read my mind.
We got that thing.
2.0.
That's why you work.
It's true. Can't fake chemistry, baby. Actually, that's not true. I know people who do and do it well, but we don't. What else? Anything else? You guys going through anything in your life you need to be sort of doing?
Well, mainly curious about what is your favorite aspect of your characters?
I enjoy Camille's outspokenness because I feel like of anyone, I get to be the voice of the portion of the audience that's going, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
You know, just generally just like, what Camille gets to be. Commenting on, like, I love characters that can be constantly winking to the audience.
Like sort of their avatar.
Yeah, a little bit, like representative of the people watching. That's my favorite part of it.
I think Linus is probably like his innocence, kind of. He wears his heart on his sleeve. You know, he says what he wants to say. So he's very honest in that sense, and I think there's something very appealing to that. Whether he doesn't know if it's right or wrong, but he feels it, so he says it, and he's not ashamed of being made fun of or kind of taking the emotional bullet. He has to get it out, and I think there's something very charming.
What was maybe the most challenging aspect of your character to get into? Maybe that was the most different from you as a person?
It's tough. For me, my most challenging part of I need to think about this. You go.
I think striking the tone, right? There's a balance with Linus, right? You don't want to make him too much of a victim. You don't want to make him like too much of a goofball. You don't want to make him too much of a nerd. So you kind of have to steep everything in a sense of truth and honesty, where he believes what he's saying. So when he tells Cameron, like, what's wrong with talking to my mom every night? He genuinely believes that. What's wrong with talking to my mom? You know, it's like, you don't want to play a character that is, I don't want to say making fun of himself from the outside, but he believes what he says. So if he's honest, back to the last question, if he's honest, then people will find that genuine and funny versus like technically like just laughing at him just because he's such an idiot sometimes. They find it funny because it's sometimes true. And I think that's kind of hard because you don't want to push it in either direction, because then it gets either like too cheesy or it's not apparent enough that it's supposed to be a truth. So.
All right.
Is that enough leeway? I could keep talking.
No, it's all right. I think I got it. Camille in episode 8 called herself an underachiever, which I could not connect with at all. You know what I mean? And I don't. It's weird. It's very rare that a question comes that stumps me, but it's kind of stumping me a little bit. My biggest challenge is just because we're on ABC Family, we've come to expect a certain thing from shows on this channel, doesn't mean I'm going to perform to that. It doesn't mean that anyone should. And so every day for me is an exercise in challenging the template. And so when I read a script, I hear it in my head, I hear it the way that I think they expect it to be said, and then I try to make the fifth possible choice, which is challenging. But I have the help of like basing Camille on really funny, outspoken, sassy women in my life. And everybody sort of says like, oh, but you're so her, you're so outspoken and sassy yourself. Yes, we share that trait in common, but like I am not a reformed party girl. I'm an overachieving former child actor. Like, you know, we have very different experiences in life. So my challenge is just like trying to tell an honest story in the context of like a girl who's finding her way. That's it.
It's all about the truth. Doesn't matter what you do. Tell the truth.
Okay, Adler.
So
Okay, so Adler Studio.
my acting training.
God.
I had to put that tuition money somewhere. All here.
There you go.
All right, guys, sorry, that's all the time we have.
That was fun. Thank you.
Thank you.